Anyway, or just leave it St. Elmo. I think you can call it semi-ghost town now. Formerly ghost town. Some 10,200 feet, or yeah, about 10,200 feet altitude. Yeah, well over half those trees over there are dead. That's just catastrophic.
At least it looks pretty mixed with the other trees that are alive.
What's really concerning is, you know, like on Pikes Peak, when winter is over and the snow melts on Pikes Peak, there's usually green vegetation under it. And now that it's hotter and the snow's melting earlier, there's a period of time where there's no snow, where the ground's not frozen, and there's no vegetation to hold the soil still in place. When like this, in a few years when these trees are all gone, that's just going to be a real erosion fest. It's going to be landslide after landslide. Pick up some speed, make up some time. Put it in third gear. We're not in a hurry. If we make it to Tin Cup Pass in 2 hours, we're doing all right.
How big are bark beetles?
Yeah, I don't know about the ones that they're talking about making the worst problems, but the ones I've seen are only about like not quite an inch, like I don't know, a half an inch.
I'll tear up the bark so fast.
I forgot all about them just because they're not where we live yet. Lodgepole pine beetles is what you call them. The ones that are causing the big problems. Anyway, our tree out in the front of our house, it's got some sort of boring bugs in it. Some sort of boring beetle in it. Infested. It keeps hanging in there. One thing that's going to be pretty similar for us compared to the old timers, you know, usually when you go somewhere you think Yeah, well, we got it made, right? Sitting in the car, flying along. It doesn't take us any time. It used to take them all day. Well, this little run, it's pretty close to the same time as guys mule skinning. I guess we are going about twice as fast right now, but I think on up it becomes more like a mule skinning speed. But they still had to make sure they would wait for more, like spend the night somewhere along, like here. It depends on what time of year it was, of course. And spend the night so they could get an early start on it, because even like this time of year, the weather can turn on you really quick. You can have a whiteout snowstorm on up. I guess we could still have some snow here. One car we saw. I meant to check our mileage. Get some idea how many miles we Yeah, like the pass from Colorado Springs up to our house. People 100 years ago would have freaked out if you had told them you could buy food at a restaurant in Colorado Springs and get to Woodland Park and it still be hot. But still, that blows me away even. It's just, 100 years ago, so that's why those hotels are along the way, because 100 years ago it took more than a day to get up that pass instead of 30 minutes.
About when you were born.
When I was born 100 years ago?
No, like when you were born, I think.
When I was born, it was... You'd made it in an hour or two. I don't know what that road was like, but because some of the roads around here were still like this when I was born. I know in 1950 you could drive off from Colorado Springs in a Jeep and never see anybody again. Nearly, well, like 3/4 of Colorado Springs was built since 1990. At least 3/4 of it. But when I was 30, the Tahlequah back home, the city limits, you know, was a different story, but you didn't leave town driving out to the lake, and you could drive all the way down to the dam. It's like 30 miles from Tahlequah and never leave town, because it's just stores all along the way in residential areas. But when I was a kid, town ended like 2 miles short of where the city limits are now, and you didn't see anything. You got gasoline in town, you got your fishing supplies in town. You could just go out to the lake and camp. As a matter of fact, we used to leave on Friday, just out of the blue, no warning, just Mom, Dad come home. Well, what are we going to do this weekend? Let's go to the lake. All right, and we'd get in the car and go. We'd pull up to the lake after dark and just camp at our favorite spot that was open almost every single time. Well, now you have to pay to get in there and reserve that spot 2 months in advance. You can't just go camp anywhere in that area anymore.
That's pretty.